but also importantly, that there is no national strategy for pediatric cancer research and care. So the how we got here, a little bit of background so that people understand where we're coming from. The creation of this organization, and I can't say this strongly enough, is really the result of dedicated parent and patient advocacy for change, for wanting to see those statistics in the last slide not be the statistics that we are okay with, not being what we are comfortable seeing in our country. Because of that advocacy, the federal government released, set aside some money that was granted through the CIHR, the Canadian Institutes for Health Research, for $23 million to be spent over 2 years to build this new organization and to fund research in pediatric cancer. And that money will be extended through to 2026. I don't think any of us want to see this end in 2026, and that will also be a topic of our discussions throughout this meeting. This work is being led by 3 co-chairs, Drs. David Malkin and Jim Whitlock, both of whom are based here at ACCESS-ACCES, and our amazing person with lived experience and advocate, Adrienne Kodyer, and you're going to hear from the 3 of them shortly. Right now, we have a mighty team of 6 people, including me, and you will meet all of them shortly. But the consortium itself is national. It includes all sorts of different people, clinicians, researchers, survivors, parent advocates, other stakeholders from across Canada who have a diversity of experiences and expertise, but are all united in this desire and passion to do something different for pediatric cancer. So the work of this organization is really twofold: to support research in all phases of the pediatric cancer journey, and we're going to hear more about that this afternoon, but also to build this multi-stakeholder pan-Canadian pediatric cancer network and build an organization that will permanently change the way children experience pediatric cancer in Canada. So our mission as a consortium is that every child with cancer in Canada will have access to the latest scientific advances, diagnostic tools, therapies, and supportive care, leading to better outcomes and quality of life. So that's ambitious and it's comprehensive, but it's the minimum of what I think we all want to do. So how we're going to do that, our work together, a lot of what we're doing is engagement, and all of you being here is a critical part of that engagement. We want to leverage and connect what we do across this country in a different way, across the breadth of cancer types, from birth through adolescence, and including the transition into adulthood and survivorship. We want to build partnerships with each other, with all those different people with different expertise, but also with existing programs to make sure that we are collaborating across Canada in a more coordinated way and in a way that results in more effective knowledge mobilization. We want to implement transformative change. I think that is why we are all here. We want to see a change in the delivery of fair, fast, effective, and safe cancer care to all Canadian children. And we want to create a unified national strategy through that work. One of the first things we did as an organization was determine our values, and you'll see that the very first one is that patients, survivors, and families are at the center of what we do. That we're collaborative, we're building those connections and working together to accomplish these goals, that we are anti-oppressive and committed to challenging systematic discrimination. And we think about inclusivity. We think about making sure that there is equitable access to what we are providing. We have a strong value around innovation and excellence, and that's really driven through all the research that we do, but also how we deliver that research, how we implement it, and how we spur innovation. And last, as an organization, I think it's really important for all of us, but for me personally, that we are accountable. We're transparent about just how decisions are made and how our resources are allocated. What we're really trying to do is build a new kind of organization. This is an interdisciplinary organization. It is endlessly, aggressively inclusive. It is interwoven at every level in the research, in the administration, in the leadership, in the governance, with the voice of people with lived experience. So we're launched, we're doing things, we're funding research, and our work now is to figure out what we want to be and how we want to sustain this. So what do we want to be while we're building it? But the question I think that needs to drive all of our thinking and all of our work is what will be transformative for children and their families experiencing cancer in Canada. So I want to spend a couple of slides just explaining how we're organized. There are some core themes and groups that have been very, very busy developing research projects, and you can see them listed here. And these really cross the cancer journey for patients, from cancer biology all the way to psychosocial and survivorship research. There are some cross-cutting themes that support the work of these research groups, which are knowledge mobilization, and a group that is ensuring that we always consider social justice, indigenization, and inclusion. There is also a new network in development for people with lived experience, and you'll hear a bit more about that during this meeting. So this work has really been driven to date by these very multidisciplinary co-leads for each of these themes and groups. And I want to take a moment to really thank those people. That has been a huge amount of work. Those are the people that have been connecting with their communities and coming back with priorities and developing research projects. And we really want to thank them for their leadership. All these groups that I've just described are developing and submitting projects and work proposals, and you're going to hear more about that shortly. And what we're starting to see is cross-theme priorities emerging, and that's really important. And I would challenge all of you throughout this meeting to listen for those, because what we are trying to build is an interwoven and interconnected organization, not just an organization that funds research, but funds research infrastructure and research collaborations. We have a new organizational structure, and we just moments ago had our first meeting of our senior leadership committee. So this senior leadership committee is really going to be the locus of decision making, and where advice will be given in terms of allocating resources and making decisions on behalf of ACCESS. And you can see the people named there. These are fantastic people, incredibly committed to our cause and our mission. And I do want to thank them again for all their time and energy. We anticipate that we'll have a number of advisory groups and committees. Most of those don't exist yet, so they're a little aspirational other than SJII, but this is where the work of those subcommittees will connect back into the leadership of the organization. We also, in the new year, will develop an external advisory board to advise us on our work in an arm's length way and provide a direction to us. There's an executive, which is made of the co-chairs. And as I mentioned, that's Adrian, David, and Jim. And they are the ones responsible for reporting to CIHR. So they have a slightly different role because this is, at the end of the day, a CIHR grant. The co-leads committee already exists. That is 56 people, I believe, at last count. So one of the things we've talked about developing is a leadership committee that is a subgroup of those co-leads that will be a more nimble way for us to interact with the research leads in this organization. And then in development is this network for people with lived experience. And I think Adrian will likely talk more about that. I wanted to put up the pictures of the people that have been supporting this work. Some of them have only been with ACCESS for 3 weeks, so they deserve a huge round of appreciation for how much they've jumped into organizing a giant meeting. But Stephanie Grover, many of you will know through her work with Profile, is our director. and an incredible engine of driving everything that we are doing. Helen Petropoulos is our program manager for partnerships and engagement, and you will see Helen around as well. We have 2 project managers supporting different themes and groups, and that's Jenna Craig and Tricia Schneider. And then we have a new senior communications advisor whose name is Fatima Khan. So I put their names up here so that when you see them in the hallways, you know who they are, and that's who you can ask questions to. Okay, what's in a name? So the Canadian Pediatric Cancer Consortium was the name originally given to this consortium through CIHR. In Canada, we are very, very keen on the letter C. We love Canada. When you work in cancer, there's a lot of C. When you work in childhood disease, there's a lot of C. So it's a little bit of an alphabet soup of letters. And so we engaged in an exercise in which we asked all of you what name resonated with this new consortium. If we are building a new organization, what should it be called and what resonates with you? And this is the worst kept secret here. The name has changed to ACCESS. We could not possibly have branded more things for this meeting with ACCESS. We did, so this is a very undramatic reveal. And the reason we chose ACCESS, and when I say we, I really mean the whole community, because we asked for a lot of input in this, is that the word itself has meaning as well as being an acronym. So at the end of the day, what we are trying to build through this organization, if you were to say it in a single word, is access. And that spelled out is also our mission. We are advancing childhood cancer experience, science, and survivorship. In French, ACCESS, agir contre le cancer des enfants avec succès. So in French and in English, they're very similar words, which is also helpful as we communicate about what we do. We do have a new website, accessforkidscancer.ca. It's more or less a landing page. We are still very much building the website in the background. This will be a very important communication tool for us as we build a national organization. You may have heard me mention that Fatima started 3 weeks ago, so she hasn't finished the website yet. But she has put up a LinkedIn and an Instagram account. So you will be seeing more communication from us, but we will be building out a much more robust website in time. And the last thing I wanted to mention was that little motif beside ACCESS. That is a graphical reference to the Northern Lights. And this was another conversation we had around what symbolizes what we are doing. And there's nothing perfect to symbolize what we're doing, but the feeling was that the Northern Lights were close, that the idea of a phenomenon closely associated with Canada was important, that this is a breathtaking thing to view. And it doesn't matter what your background is and who you are, it is a stunning thing to see. That it's a symbolism of warmth in an otherwise cold and potentially hostile environment. And also that Northern Lights are ethereal and therefore evocative of children who have passed away. So what does access mean in pediatric cancer? I can give you a very long list, but in fact, we are going to be talking about that during this meeting and asking you to unpack that word and what access to means. And that will be a very important part of building what we are as an organization and our purpose. So you can look forward to that tomorrow. So I'm going to pause and ask our co-chairs to come up. Okay, you're going to switch order. And David is going to speak first. And I've asked each of them to talk about their objectives and their why and their desired outcomes from this meeting and this organization. So ignore the order on the slide. David's going to go first.
Yeah, we're going to come up together, though.
Oh, you're going to come up together. Okay. All three of you.
Thanks very much, and welcome everybody. I do apologize. I'm going to be stepping out for a few minutes at 3, so for something that was unexpected to come up, but I will be back for a good chunk of the session following. So first of all, welcome. It's great to see everybody here and those online. I think this is the beginning of as the end of Casablanca for those who watch classical films. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. The beginning started perhaps almost a year ago, but I think we would consider today to be the true start of this, of ACCESS for sure, and of where we want to go. Thinking a little bit about what was important, there's many things important to me in the context of our role, and I think the list of that Christine just put up about what ACCESS is will be interesting to discuss. But a couple of things in my mind. My background is as a pediatric oncologist here for about 30 years, trained before that, and also having a comprehensive cancer research program that touches on hereditary cancer, sarcomas, and more currently precision oncology and precision medicine. And so in covering that, I thought, how do we incorporate that? And in my mind, ACCESS should build on our unique strengths. I think it should represent the mosaic of activity that's in this room and beyond that reflects the vision of the consortium at large. I think it should do so rather than sort of using this influx of cash that we've been generously given by the federal government through CIHR to support projects that could be otherwise funded by other sources. That's not what this consortium is about. This is about building something new, something different, something beyond what we typically think of in our respective worlds. I think it should create an infrastructure to support large-scale programs, and that these should be envisioned in the mission as we've seen it, and perhaps as time goes on, we'll alter and change the vision and mission, and I think we should be feeling comfortable doing that as needed. And that this should be sustainable well beyond the 2 to 4 years, depending on what that fluid time frame is for the initial funding period. ACCESS and this consortium is not only about research project generated data, but to create a system for Canada to support such work, as well as clinical trials, a regulatory framework that's fair and equitable, and addresses the unique needs and aspirations of childhood cancer care. We should create an educational and knowledge system that can be utilized for any kind of question or project or accessibility issue that any researcher, any PWLE or person with lived experience, clinician or educator or child in the childhood cancer space may wish to address. Today, I think it's the start of the next 18 months for us to create this system and a network that links everybody and does it so in a seamless fashion. I think we've generally felt that, I don't like using the word silos, but we've worked in our own particular areas of expertise and we've done well in those areas of expertise. But the idea here is to bring that together and start to break down or at least lessen the differences that we may have had over the years. And that we would demonstrate, therefore, our ability to work together to a common purpose so that we can then present a very strong and compelling story with a unified voice to tell and ensure that we have a sustainable program here in Canada for years to come that can be an exemplar for the entire world. So I'll leave that as my comments and pass it along to Adrienne. And I do apologize, I'll step up, but I will be back.
Safe travels.
Bye, David. Can you believe it? No, you are an idea that has lived in my head for over 5 years. And here you are today. I have to admit that I'm a little overwhelmed by all of you being here. This is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm so grateful that you have joined us today to bring to reality in person, finally, this organization and movement that we've started. So hello, good afternoon. My name is Adrienne Kodire. I am a person with lived experience, PWLE. Not a group that I had intended to join, but one that I am now firmly entrenched in. I am one of the co-chairs of ACCESS, which I'm very happy about that name. My daughter, Gabrielle, is a 3-time leukemia survivor. As we begin our meeting and use our time together to plan our future, I remind you all of our shared purpose to give children who experience cancer the best chance of survival and quality of life. What many of you may not know is that that diagram at the beginning of our CIHR grant proposal that shows the patient journey and over top of it in color layers all of your great work was drawn by me and shows my family's experiences from diagnosis to survivorship. That person on the screen is my daughter, Gabrielle. She is my 3-time leukemia survivor, and she did give me permission to show you her image and our journey. Through the dedicated efforts of hundreds of individuals, the availability of new treatments, and sheer grit and determination, Gabby is still with us. Many children that we met along the way are not. So, I am not here for myself. This work is grueling and punishing and a constant reminder of the horrors of cancer that my family lived through. And I can tell you that I'm not getting paid for this. It's not part of my career trajectory. And as much as I appreciate and am grateful for all of you, and I'm so pleased to see you, you are not the reason that I am here either. I am not here to fight for my daughter. Thankfully, that time in our lives is mostly past. No, I am here for the children who will be diagnosed today, or tomorrow, or next week. I am here for the family who has run out of options and is hoping for a miracle now. I am here so that someday no other mother draws a family pediatric cancer journey that looks like mine. Thank you. As you move through your time at this AGM, keep our children at the center of your endeavors. They are the focus and reason that we are all together, the ties that bind us and the connection across our differences. I look forward to spending time with you and doing the big work that is before us here in Toronto. Thank you.
Thanks for that powerful message, Adrian, that really, I think, centers why we're all here. And it's a tough act to follow. My hope is that with many of the research initiatives that all of you will hear about shortly, that are either under review in the final stage of development or now approved, we can begin to turn more of our attention to what happens next once those initiatives are up and running. What else is required to realize and sustain our vision of better outcomes and quality of life for Canadian children with cancer? I hope that by the end of Wednesday afternoon, we'll have a much clearer idea. So as we kick off these 3 days of meetings, I would leave you with the immortal words of Dr. Seuss. Think left and think right, think low and think high. Oh, the things you can think up if only you try. I hope all of you will think up some things and share them with us at this meeting so that we can all work together to build the organization that we all really want. Thank you.
Thank you to all 3 of you. And I have to tell you that Jim snuck that slide in the last 10 minutes. I didn't see Dr. Seuss coming, but I'm a big fan of the wisdom of Dr. Seuss. So well done. Okay, so a last comment from me. I just want to thank all of you for your passion for this. I wish you a great meeting with interested and spirited conversations. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity for open dialogue, that we can work to understand all these different perspectives we bring to this work, and that together we can start to find consensus around our priorities and who we want to be when we grow up. I welcome the opportunity to connect and in some cases reconnect with each of you, and hope that you find that with each other. And know that this isn't just about talking and aspiring to things, but that we really are looking for concrete outcomes and directions by the end of this 3 days.